Welcome in, people. We're doing it.
We're doing it. Are you guys sure you want to do this?
We're showing up, damn it.
It's like deja vu.
We're going to show up.
The Celtics don't show up, but we show up, okay? We show up and we work hard and we're going to do it. And how many times are we going to say, and again, we're going to let people populate the room before we get going. We got some ornery people in the room right now, so everyone's going to have their say before it's over. But special guest tonight is Jeff Goodman. And before we get to his latest zesty take on Jaylen Brown, which we will a little bit later in the show, we just want to welcome him to the Garden Report postgame show. And Jeff, we'll give you first bite at the apple. I don't know how many times we're going to say worst loss ever, because it feels like we've said it a lot. It's hard to not call this. It's hard to not call this the worst loss ever.
This has
What's up, Jeff?
They were atrocious and embarrassment. I don't care that Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker didn't play. I do care because I think Jason should have been out there. I don't know how bad the injury is or whatever he's dealing with, but in a game like this, you got to be out there. There's 11, 12 games left in the regular season. You needed this win. You could ill afford a loss like this, but even without Tatum and Kemba, last I checked, they were without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they stink. They absolutely stink. They're trying to tank. They've got a garbage team other than Lou Dort, and you lost. You had supposedly one of the top 25 players in the NBA in Jaylen Brown. I still don't buy that.
Supposedly.
I know.
It starts now.
What do you mean? He was an all-star, Jeff. What do you mean?
You're not losing.
That's the supposedly factor.
No, it's true, Jeff. Look, I think they rolled the dice on Tatum, thinking we can get away with tonight and still squeak out the win.
Exactly.
And so we needed to give him a day off. Let's pick the game, and they picked this one on the back-to-back, on the front end of a back-to-back, and it burned him, obviously. And I don't think he's hurt. But I mean, again, it doesn't matter. Like, I watched this whole game. I've now watched 2 Oklahoma City games this year. I still can't name a player on their team. Like,
the dude who ripped out
40 and 40 the first matchup or something.
It's unreal.
Not even Lou
20
Dort.
rebounds at halftime.
No, I mean, I can, but then the joke doesn't land.
No, I got you.
This is an absolute joke. And I'm now at the point, and I said this on the podcast earlier with Bob Ryan that we aired. I'm now at the point where if you're Danny Ainge, you have to either the coach goes or a player goes.
Yeah.
Something has to happen after this year. You cannot go into the season next year with this same group and the same coach. And I love Brad Stevens. Everybody knows what I think of Brad Stevens as a human being. I think he's a really good coach, but something needs to change, period, and something major.
Yeah, I think that's the next step here.
You just lost to a team that in their last 4 back-to-backs got their asses kicked by an average of 31 plus points per game. Per game, not total, per game. They've had bad losses before. I get that. This is beyond inexcusable. Beyond inexcusable.
Gerard, 14-game losing streak. And again, there's math involved here, so excuse me if I stumble. But you're right. Off of last night, a 31-20, then 6-12, 6-6, couple close ones. 38-10, okay? 24, 27, 11, 24, 48, 37. That's the margin of error on their 14 losses. You've got to be freaking kidding me. Like, you can't lose to this team.
And the thing about it was their game plan, Oklahoma City's game plan, was exactly the game plan you have if you're trying to lose. We're just going to let you shoot all you want. It's a buff. It's all buffet. Take any shot you want. All you got to do is make it. Make an open shot.
How do you allow this team to shoot 40-plus threes when you have non-shooters on the floor? Like, not great shooters. Like, this is, Brad, you have to change when you don't have Tatum and you don't have great shooters. Don't you have to change the way you play a little bit and not have I'm so sick of this Marcus Smart shooting 10 threes every game. When he's on, that's fine. When he's out for his first 6, you're done. You're done.
But see, that's the thing, Goodman, though. That's the game plan. Let them shoot. Let them. It won't put you in, right? It won't do you in if you let the Celtics shoot. And that's what OKC did, right? They gave him all those three-pointer opportunities, and Marcus took damn near every single one of them. What was it? One for 9, one for 10.
My guy, Mark Dagnall, I met him when he was like a manager at Florida 10 years ago. It's the greatest story ever. Leominster's own Mark Dagnall just beat the crap and outcoached Brad Stevens with a bunch of G Leaguers.
And it drives me nuts. It really does, because the way they went about it, right? Whether it was they first established the outside shot that the Celtics couldn't defend, right? They start taking it to the Celtics, and the Celtics cannot just protect the basket. Can you prevent a layup from going in without fouling? Like, that's what I was literally screaming to the TV throughout the fourth quarter. And then they do it again. They did it twice with under a minute left. Damn the comeback. I'm not impressed.
When did Dort become James Harden?
Like
the last,
right, exactly.
Hey,
like
be the grinder, dude.
Like the last near comeback win. What we said last time, we're not impressed anymore, because this pattern it's too much. It's been throughout the entire season.
He was getting to the cup like his name was James Harden.
But Jeff, let me
everyone off the dribble.
Yeah, the way he was leaning, the fake, the hesitation, he was looking like Harden out there, Sherrod.
Right, I mean, Jeff, let me ask you the question, because you said it. Like, okay, you know, guys are doing these things, like Marcus goes out and shoots and you know, sticking to a game plan or not sticking to a game plan. Is there a game plan? And two, do they throw it out 30 seconds into every single game and just do whatever they want? Because it literally do the players do anything that they're asked to do?
Well, the problem is you don't have guys that
anything
know how to move the ball.
Just one thing.
Nobody moves
just do one thing, I tell you.
But I don't know, good man. Yeah, Marcus doing it. Peyton Pritchard, I thought was great. I mean,
it's fine.
And that's it. That's all you got.
What bothers me, guys, is when Marcus Smart is literally going up to Romeo Langford saying, "No, go that way. No, Romeo, do the screen over here." Like, he's literally walking him through their coverages. I'm like,
in the middle of the game.
In the middle of the game. Like, is this a brand new defense that Brad Stevens just rolled out? Or are these guys just not getting it? Like, I don't understand.
The second unit, well, listen, and Fournier, let's be honest here. Like, he's not himself. We know that.
He gets a pass. He gets a pass, yeah.
On that last
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
The last play defensively, when I forget who threw the ball up and he was like a step slow to react to it. Like, he's not fast anyway, but I think he would have made that play if he wasn't coming out of COVID, right? But again, I'm done with the excuses for this team. I've made them for
That's where they stop. That's where they stop.
I'm absolutely done. And again, to me, I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me, would you fire Brad Stevens or would you make a move with a player? Because you can't make a move with Kemba. You're not getting enough value for Kemba. You can't trade him. I'm not trading Tatum for anything. I know I may be the only one on the island now, but I'm still on the island here. I'm not trading.
No, you know what, Jeff? I just think these two are too talented to not see this thing through. I mean, or at least another year or two. I don't think there's any way in hell that Danny Ainge wants to split the tandem. Now, good man, I see you just made that face. I'm not talking about Brad or the players. To answer your question, I say it's the head coach. It's got to be the coach. It's got to be the culture. It's got to be a new voice to lead these guys, to lead those two rising superstars. Because that's exactly what they are. It's not like the Celtics had the wrong two superstars here.
They might.
They got the wrong culture though.
No, Jaylen Brown and Time Lord and whatever else you got to give up.
It's too early. Too early, Jeff. Not yet.
Go get them.
Not yet. I want to see this thing through with this core.
Move the ball. Beal can move the damn ball. He scores when he needs to, but Bradley Beal is a ball mover as well when you need him to be.
He showed it when John Wall went down, and people thought that, oh my God, the Wizards, they're going to be horrible, which they are, but he's going to play horribly, and he didn't. He showed the ability to be a scorer and a facilitator. I didn't think he had that in his game, because you didn't really see a lot of that when he was in college, and you damn sure didn't see it when he played with Wall. But when Wall was out of the picture, he showed the ability to be an elite facilitator. If Washington is open for business for Beal, we got to have that conversation.
And Beal and Tatum are boys, so like there's a chance Beal could stay here.
Yeah, but Sherrod, Washington's not picking up that phone unless you're talking about Jaylen Brown. I mean,
I didn't say they had to pick up the phone. Yes, I said we had to have the conversation. You already know who's got to pick up the damn phone.
So you're willing to give up one of those guys?
I'm willing to talk about what is it going to take. Because to me, if they said, well, if you just give us like, Grant Williams, Time Lord, and a couple of bag of chips, hell yeah. If we're talking about Jaylen, we got to think about that. We got to look and see what else is out there.
What is there to think about?
DC and Jaylen, man, that's a match.
You're gonna have to
Jaylen Brown.
I'm asking for Jaylen and then some. Like,
Jeff, that's my issue. It's not if it's just Jaylen, that's one thing. But it's what else am I going to have to put into the pot for that deal to happen? That's where my concern comes from.
You can take Time Lord. You can take the first round pick this year, and we're done. We're good.
If I'm Washington, I'm going to be ridiculously greedy. Ridiculously greedy.
Why is Jeff just throwing in Robert Williams in there? Like he's just like a little
Bill Russell,
like a garnish. Like he's a garnish on the
Williams
meal.
Is Bill Russell. I forgot.
He's not Bill Russell.
He's not Russell Crowe. He's not Bill Russell. What is he?
I want him to be a starter for a full season so I can find out. Is he Ben Wallace? Is he DeMar?
No, I can answer that question for you. He's not. I've covered Ben Wallace. I can tell you right now, he is not Ben Wallace.
Maybe he's not Ben.
Thank you.
But maybe he's a baby Rudy Gobert. We got to find out.
He's not Rudy Gobert. I've watched enough.
That front court is too thin, fellas.
He's not that dude.
That front court is too thin.
Keep going, Josue. What else you got?
That front court.
Bringing it.
What do you mean? Either one of those guys, like it's too soon, guys. I'm telling you, we gotta see this thing through. He hasn't even had a full season as a starter.
Listen,
let me say one thing.
Maybe you can trade those guys. One thing has nothing to do with the other. You might be able to trade one of those guys, but you also might need a new coach. And I'm with you on the Brett. Again, I think people have a hard time wrapping their minds around the nuance of the discussion. Brad can be an excellent coach, might not be the right coach for this team. Both those things can be true. It's not that complicated.
We should have started that disclaimer.
At that point, it might be the case because again, you keep pointing to things, which is like failure to do literally anything that the coach asks. He goes out there and he says, turnovers, man, they're killing us. We got to take better care of the ball. And they come off of a timeout or they start the second half tonight. And the first thing they do is turn the ball over. It's absolute total disregard for anything. Ball movement. We got to move the ball. We got to pace it. He's screaming run on the sideline and they won't run. Like they literally just don't do the things he wants them to do. Do you guys remember? Disappointing, but it's the truth. So what do you do at that point?
You guys remember the sequence where I felt like the Oklahoma City Thunder were playing the Celtics offensive game where they just run up the court and jack up a three, and the Celtics never looked more comfortable in their life. Like they love that, and they were doing it back and forth, whether it was Jaylen or Marcus. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this has to be the complete opposite of what Brad anticipated going into this game, right? No Jason Tatum, you're shorthanded, you're going up against OKC. What a great opportunity for guys like Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown to really grab the team by the horns, say, hey guys, look, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to bounce back and display that sort of attitude on both ends of the floor. And I thought, I got to be honest, there were some parts of this game where I just felt like they just thought that, you know what, screw it. I'm going to put this team on my back and I'm going to do it on my own. And it's just not the attitude to have. And I get the frustration. I saw the way Jaylen literally had to bite his tongue against these, some of these referees because he was so upset with himself, but he was able to keep himself composed. And, at the end of the game, sure, they kept it competitive, but it's just not enough. It's just the talent on this team, like the attitude, they should have turned a corner weeks ago. We thought they did, but they clearly haven't. It just
they look like a team that feels that the minute the playoffs get here, everything is going to change. And I hate to break it to them. They're not built for that life.
Switch flipping doesn't work. They're not.
It does not.
2019.
It doesn't work because they haven't established themselves as a team that has the capacity to do that.
You have to at some point actually play well in order to once again play well. That's the whole thing.
Well, you know what? Even if you don't play well, play hard. Yeah. At the end of the day, play hard. If you do that, your wins are going to inevitably come your way. What bothers me about what we're seeing now is that one of the things I always loved about Brad when he came to the Celtics was he was one of those guys that had a proven track record of making really nice, subtle nuances to his coaching on the fly. When you get to the NCAA championship game from a school like Butler twice, you have the ability to make changes on the fly. And yet when I watch this team play now, I don't see that. I don't see him making and I know that the hand that he's dealt is not a great one, but you're not maximizing the value of the hand that you have. I mean, this was a game where you would have liked to see a little more zone because you're playing it. You couldn't stop a dead tick defensively.
Yeah.
And as someone who went to Syracuse over here, I know a thing about what happens when you can't defend. What do? You play the zone and hope that you can just confuse them enough, keep them at bay, force them to be thinking more than just playing, and that can be a way to neutralize that. But they're not doing – there's nothing creative that's happening with this roster that gives you the hope that they can figure this thing out. And that's disappointing because back to Jeff's point, this is not like we're saying Brad is a bad coach. There's just a disconnect between his strengths as a coach and this team executing what he wants and needs them to do.
All right, let me say a few things because I
Jimmy.
want to say
Jimmy.
one thing on this show. I haven't even gotten a chance to say hi to you guys yet. You guys
He's like
are
a
just,
sponge. He was
off
just
to
soaking
the
it all
races.
in.
It's like the Kentucky.
We're fired
Derby
up,
at the
Jimmy.
gates here. I can
We're
tell.
fired up. Let's go.
Jeff's on a Jeff. We only have Jeff for a limited amount of time. He's got to get his pound of flesh.
You got to get it all in. We're ripping Jaylen Brown off the top here, and I understand.
I'm not ripping him. No. I'm not ripping him. I'm saying if you can trade him for Bradley Beal, who, by the way, is a pretty good player last I checked, I would do that trade.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's a popular take.
I'm not saying you're ripping them.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy. On to
the topic of conversation to start the show. If you took Jaylen Brown out the game, if you took Jaylen Brown out of this game and you put Bradley Beal in this game, I still don't know if the Celtics win. Jaylen Brown had a phenomenal second half of this game, and he had a pretty strong night overall. I mean, I don't think any of us can say that Jaylen Brown didn't have a good night. The problem is the same problem last year, is that this team is very top heavy. And when those players are missing, there's nobody to slide in and carry the load. Pritchard was the only guy tonight that sort of answered the bell with guys out. So it's the same depth issue. It's the same depth issues, except now you don't have Gordon Hayward. And your replacement, Evan Fournier, can't hit the broadside of a barn right now. For whatever reason or whatever excuse you want to give him, he's a complete dud out there on offense, and he's pretty much inconsequential on defense too. So you're not getting any help from anybody aside from your stars. And if the three ball falls a little bit more than it did tonight, the Celtics might squeak this one out. Again, it's not an excuse. The problem I have with the Celtics right now is they're the slump busters. They're the team that everyone's licking their chops to and saying, hey, this is a team that we can win. We know that we can just sort of punch them in the mouth early on and, sort of take their soul away.
Nobody's scared of the Celtics.
Nobody's scared of them. Everybody knows that, they might put a little second half run together, but ultimately we've seen it all year. They always come up short, and they make it interesting down the stretch, but they really should have never been in that position to begin with. But listen, I mean, Jaylen Brown is an extremely talented player. I know that so is Bradley Beal, and it's certainly not a knock on Jaylen Brown to be in the conversation of that's the type of player that you get in return. But I just don't know if, again, it's like trading one star for another. There's definitely a risk there. My confusion, I guess, or my questions are whether or not it's Brad or whether or not it's the makeup of the team at the top. So it could be the same thing you want to say about Brad, you can say about Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, is that they can still be very good players and not be very good players together or not be very good players on this team.
Oh, with
so
Kemba.
If that's what you, if
with
that's
Kemba also,
right,
yeah.
If that's what you determine at some point, Danny Ainge will have to determine one way or the other. I will say this: it's extremely, extremely rare for a GM to choose a coach over a superstar player or a star player. And last year is a perfect example in Philadelphia. Everybody said, who's it going to be? Embiid or Simmons? One of them has to go because they don't play well together. And what happened? They fired Brett Brown. They brought in Doc Rivers. And
I'll just head out. Don't worry about it.
The coach and the GM.
Now the Sixers are a
but
legit
Brett Brown's
team.
not Brad. Brett Brown,
no, not even close.
What Brad makes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now again, money aside, I assume Wick would eat the money.
I don't think so. This is a team afraid to
see,
go in the luxury tax, Jeff. This is a team afraid to go in the luxury tax that just extended him in August for 5 years. You think they're going to fire him in year one? I don't think there's any chance that happens. I don't think there's any chance it happens.
I don't think I don't think there is either, but I don't think that means that means Jaylen Brown's gone either.
I don't think there's any chance
surprised.
Brad gets fired in year one of an extension. I'd be stunned if that happens.
I think Brad was probably promised, or at least close to, some job security when Indiana came knocking. That's my guess.
Yeah, well, look, it doesn't matter whether it's Indiana, whether it's North Carolina. If Brad decides that he wants to walk away and the Celtics say, fine, go ahead, before he gets out of the TD Garden, he will have 3 to 4 offers once that hits. There's no doubt about that.
I thought that
in demand.
I thought that was an easy out. Like, for real. Like, the Indiana stuff.
But he didn't want it.
He didn't want to go, though.
I know he didn't want it.
He doesn't want that. He wants to stay in the NBA.
It would have been an easy out, theoretically, where both sides could have been like, we love you, but I don't know if it's working, and we just signed you to a big contract. So if you want to tear up that contract and go.
That's a dark legacy, dark NBA coaching legacy.
I just don't think Brad's pride would allow him to walk away with the things in the state that they're in now. Everything I've heard, everyone I've spoken with indicates to me that he's not going to do that.
Not in the middle of the year.
The Patino.
He's the last guy to do that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think he went in the middle of the year either, and I don't think he will in the offseason either. I think that they have to fire him, which again I just find that hard to believe. It hard to believe they would, but I mean anything's. Of course it's possible.
Let me set up why we got on the Jaylen Brown conversation earlier today. This handsome guy over here on the graphic, said on his the Goodman Ryan podcast that if they're going to get better, Celtics need to trade Jaylen Brown because it's really their only option. We've had this conversation a ton, Jeff, and again, this is why we're talking about it again tonight. The point is that there's really nobody else they could trade. Marcus doesn't get you enough, and nobody really wants Kemba based off of his health or his position or his style of play and his whatever. So that's it. You've got one option. You've got two options. It's Tatum or Brown in order to make a needle moving trade. So you think at this point you have to do, now you're picking Jaylen because you think Jason is the better player and the one who should stay here, or you think there's an issue with Jaylen specifically that you think you want to get out from under, or is it just a fit where the two of those guys aren't going to be able together to make it work?
I think Jason can be a top 5 player in this league in a few years. I think Jaylen Brown right now, his value, I'm not going to say it's at its peak because he can obviously get better, and he's shown that over the last year or two. He's gotten better in the half court, better decision-making, become a better shooter, all of it. I just think Tatum's upside, especially in an NBA that values offense, scoring, versatility among a forward. I just think Tatum's a better overall player than Jaylen Brown. So to me, again, I think you're stuck in a spot right now where either you've got to make a move with your coach or you've got to make a move with one of these three guys. And as you said, Kemba doesn't have the value. I wouldn't trade Jason Tatum for just about anybody in the league. I really do think he's a guy, if you put the right people around him, and you either need a point guard that can make people better, which Kemba just is not. He's just not. He's never really been that guy. He's been better over the last 10, 12 games in that regard, but that's not his strength. He's always been a scorer. And now he's not even healthy. Let's face it. He's not the Kemba that we saw in Charlotte. I would listen. If I'm Danny Ainge, I would look at every possible trade involving Jaylen Brown at this point. Obviously, I'd look at every trade involving Kemba.
Do you think they mesh? Or do you think they get along? There are people who kind of wonder
in basketball terms,
whatever it is, or obviously they don't have the same personality.
Are they compatible?
Yeah. Are they compatible? Is there resentment? Is there
this
anything
a match made in heaven, Goodman?
Is there anything we're missing here about why this wouldn't work?
I think there's, and I don't know if Sherrod's gotten some of this too. Take this with a grain of salt. It's not like these are like lockdown sources that tell me this, but I've heard it whispers enough that there's some jealousy there between these two guys. And there's been some jealousy there. Maybe who the guy is. Maybe Jaylen a little jealous of the fact that we've anointed Tatum ahead of him. Whatever it is, I think there's a little bit of jealousy, but listen, they're 23, 24 years old. That's probably par for the course for anybody in this situation. But I think they don't dislike one another or anything like that. I mean,
they're not chilling with each other. They're not hanging out.
Jimmy's jealous of Joe Sway.
Right. Well, I mean, the big thing about those two guys, and I've talked with a number of people about them, is they push each other to be better. And when you're pushing each other, there is going to come a point where you're thinking like, well, shit, I mean, I'm just as good as him. And then the other guy's going to be thinking, well, I'm just as good as him. Does that mean that you can't play together? No, it simply means you understand that in order to be at that top shelf status that you want, you got to keep getting better because that dude is continuing to get better. The thing that the more I think about all that we're talking about and just the status of the Celtics, the elephant in the room that I don't think we've addressed is the money. And we've talked about Brad and his new deal and how that's a deterrent for them getting something done. But you also have to look, and we talked about this in previous episodes, the luxury tax and the impact of that and taking on another player.
Tax tryout.
What is that going to mean? And for someone like Jaylen Brown, you are going to have to give up way more than you probably going to be comfortable with to make something like that happen. And then the question becomes, are you a better team if you do that? Is Brad the guy that can then all of a sudden, will he have a team that's more conducive to what works for him? And if you're starting to cater your roster to your coach, that is a major
risk.
Major problem. Because you are setting yourself up for a devastating fall. I mean, if it came to either making a significant change that's going to screw you up money-wise or cutting loose the coach and that's going to cost you a ton of money, you're going to cut that coach loose. You are absolutely going to do that. And I think if it gets to the point where they feel they have to make a change, that's the change I think they'll make. Remember when Rick Carlisle signed his new deal in Dallas a few years back and they automatically started sucking almost right after that? There was a lot of talk and conversation about, is Mark Cuban going to cut him loose? No. What Cuban did, he wrote it out because the money of getting rid of him was way too high, and the money you would have to invest in trying to significantly upgrade the roster, it just didn't make sense. And now they're in this place where it's like, we've got this really good coach, but we're not really getting over that hump. And if you're Danny Ainge, you've got to assess whether is that your potential future, having a really good coach who can't get you over the hump because you didn't have the cojones to cut him loose when it seemed the time to do that was now. Those are some of the issues that Danny and Wick and all those guys have to work out. But the bottom line is it's going to cost a lot of freaking money to do something.
Is there somebody else that would want Brad in the NBA that they could kind of almost work something out, right? Like that.
And get that first round pick.
Like a leverage, yeah.
Do the Belichick deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, like what they did with Doc Rivers and the Clippers.
With Doc.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that might be the best thing. Again, all I'm saying here is I wouldn't give up Jaylen Brown unless I'm going to get another all-star back, number one. But I would certainly, again, I think it's got to be Brad or Jaylen.
Yeah. If we can trade Brad for another if we could trade Brad for another TPE, I say do it. Before we move on, because we got a lot more to go on this show, I just want to remind everybody at home, yes, we're doing the locker room thing. Yes, we're probably going to be on it for a while because, yes, all of you are extremely angry and you're going to want to yell and scream and talk about this. And there's some venting. And again, this is our therapy session. This is why we do this. Okay. We want to help you through this. So let's
loosen the tie a little bit, you know?
Yeah. So join us, vent. You're in the chats. You're obviously angry. Join us on Locker Room After. Download it on the iOS store. Android fix coming soon. I swear it's happening. Okay.
Isn't it up? Didn't it get Android today?
Did they get it?
Yeah.
Try it.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Really? Goodman.
Really?
Goodman.
How did they not let us know that? We're by far their best show.
Goodman.
Yeah,
Goodman.
I started with them.
The Goodman Network. They launched it.
Yeah, Goodman.
Cat's
How do I
out
get
the
all your
bag.
followers, man? I see you. You get your followers up on Locker Room.
Wait a second.
Goodman's like, I launched this thing from scratch. Trust me, it's on Android.
Goodman's like the auto follow when you sign up. He's like, you automatically follow him, I think.
Just the beta version. It doesn't matter. Give it a try. Android people,
Just the beta version.
You've been out there bitching about it. Give it a shot. Let's see if you can get on there. What we'll do is when we're about to head over, we'll post a link. We'll trickle over there. The guys will close out the show here, and then we will, kind of listen to you guys until, everybody's had their say. So, again, join us after the game.
Beta version for the beta Celtics.
Question for everybody here. If Bobby were on the show tonight, what percentage of it right now? We're at the 28-minute mark. How many minutes would we have spent talking about Luke Cornett?
Oh,
at
Cornett
least 7. At least 7. Did you see that great tip in by Luke Cornett? Did you see that way he swung the ball?
Opening tape.
He's already texted that Cornett needs to start. And all this other stuff.
I mean, man, Ty Jerome.
Look at my guy's Twitter right now.
Lit up the Celtics in the fourth quarter. I love Ty Jerome.
Yeah, I like him too. Yeah,
come on.
Should never happen. I mean,
by the way, I didn't even notice this, and I should have noticed it because the graphic was sitting on the screen the entire freaking time. Look at the turnover number for OKC tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed
Oh my God. How do you lose a game to a
Yeah.
team
Hold
that
on,
turns the
though.
ball over 27 freaking times?
27. It's insane. But look at the free throws. And look how many the Celtics shot. Like,
Yeah. Bad.
You know?
What was it?
They finally started to string together, stopped at the rim, but then they couldn't stop fouling.
It was 30. It was 20. Was it 28 of 36 for OKC? 36. Celtics got to the line a fair amount, 22 out of 25, but 28 out of 36 free throws for OKC.
But
The worst 2 free throws of the night, and somebody who's understands basketball better than me maybe can explain it. The Celtics are down 3, I think, and there was 28 seconds on the clock or so around there, and with 21 seconds on the shot clock, they fouled. Or they were down 2.
It was
Something
30 seconds left, and they were down 3, and they fouled, and they didn't need to.
Why? Why would they foul? It made no freaking sense.
Because that's how bad the defense is, Jimmy.
It was just like they were trying to play too tight, and like it was a freaking foul. Like, what are you doing?
Brad wanted to save as much time as possible without.
Can you believe Fournier got the steal there too late anyway? But I mean, what a crap freaking game.
But that's a game where Brad has to tell them, do not foul. Do not foul on this play. Just play tight defense. Try to force them in.
That was stunning. Like even Scallon, Gorman were like, why did we foul here? Like, why would you foul? 30 seconds to go. And you've got a timeout. You get the ball with 6 seconds left. If you play clean defense, you can get any shot you want at that point.
It's unbelievable. Do
you guys want him to play the play-in at this point? Like I think it'd be fun. Like, let's get them in the play, and they deserve it.
You know what?
Whether we want to or not, they will.
Cut his teeth on being a really good. Keep it moving to the next week of the NCAA tournament. He should be in his element in a one and done setup. He really should be.
Yeah.
If you lose the play-ins, you're in the lottery. You're in the lottery, right? If you don't make the final 8.
Believe so.
Is that right?
So. I think it goes by like how.
No. It's the bottom 13, right?
What I'm saying
14,
is if you don't
14.
make
you'd be 7th.
I'm saying it doesn't matter if you finish 7 and you lose 2 games, you don't make the playoffs. You're not one of 8 teams in the playoffs. So I'm saying if you're not one of the 8 who enter the real playoffs, not the play-in playoffs, are you in the lottery?
Is it done that way, or is it done by record at the end of the regular season?
I thought, I think for this new format, I think it's done by the record at the end of the season. So if you're like the 7th team and you get bounced and you don't make the playoffs, you're not going to have a chance at Cade. It's going to be the Cade sweepstakes.
So the 10th team that makes the playoffs is still in the lottery?
Yes, that's correct. They can win it all.
They can win it. That's the beauty.
You can win the title and be in the lottery?
Correct.
Yeah. That's why no one should want any part of the Washington Wizards. Because they're going to be in that 9-10 game. And they're probably going to win it.
I mean, that's
and get a lottery pick.
To me, does it come down to, like, is Brad Stevens' future built around the fact that, like, if they do get in the play-in and lose to the Wizards or something like that, does it change? And then Danny can't bring him back. Maybe.
But that's the question everyone's asked. What's the head rolling scenario? Is it first round exit? Is it play-in loss? What's the one that automatically is like we can't live with this?
I think if they wind up in a play-in game and they get beat badly, like thrashed badly,
then he's
I think you got to cut him loose. Because remember, out with Clippers when they were up 3-1 over Denver. Life is good. Doc's the man. He's finally getting them over that second round hump that the Clippers have never been able to get over them. Yeah. Then they collapse. Doc's gone. Ties in. Things change quickly.
Okay, I'm being told
you have to save that culture, right, Sherrod? I mean, I think that's why the Clippers did that. They're afraid that everyone's going to check out. One more year, Doc, and everyone checks out, and then you have to, completely destroy the roster and start from scratch.
So how is that different than if the Celtics get bounced early?
It's not. I'm with you. I agree. I just think that people are going to look at it and compare it to, Brad went to the Eastern Conference Finals this amount of time. It's not about that. It's about the fact that he's losing this team, or he's lost this team, better yet. And there's not enough flexibility for Danny Ainge to fix it on the fly. It's not enough time. That there's just, I'm with you. I mean, the extension for this to happen, there's no way they could have foreseen this, but you're telling me if the core guys, or at least one of those guys, Tatum and Brown, says, hey, listen, one morning they wake up during the offseason and say, you know what, Brad's not it. And they go to the front office and present that. You think the Celtics aren't gonna go their separate ways with Brad? They have to. That's what the NBA does. That's what they're about.
I mean, I mean, obviously, Brad has shown himself to be a very good coach, and he's had a lot of success here. But you know what? Some of that success you got to look at with an asterisk. Like, and I think back to the Chicago series in 2017, where Rondo comes into the Garden, wins games 1 and 2, breaks his thumb or wrist or whatever it was,
That could have
does
ended
not
the
play
whole
again. That series changes. They go on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Just imagine if they would have got bounced in the first round by the Bulls. How could that would have the domino effect that would have had on Brad's lineage as the Celtics head coach?
With everything, because the multiple things everyone says in defense of what's going on with the Celtics this year is they've reached 2 conference finals, and that counts both for Brad and for Jaylen and Jason. And so no matter what, anytime you look at whatever negative is happening with the team right now, everyone will always go back to that. They've made 2 out of 3 Eastern Conference Finals. These 2 guys on their own without the support, because they did it without Kyrie and Gordon in the first year, and they did it largely without Gordon last year and Brad. So if they can do it then stands to reason they can do it again, even if it's not happening this year. So it's a fair point because they have done it on their own, that nucleus of Brad and those 2 guys being the main stars.
I just think at the end of the day, the money is going to force the Celtics to stand pat. Keep this core together, keep Brad as coach, run it back at least one more year, regardless of what happens this year.
I think it's easier too because Jeff's scenario is risky.
Those guys check out. I think if everything stays the same, there's a greater chance that Tatum and Brown are going to check out because you're not going to improve this roster. You're not going to bring in pieces that's going to magically flip things around. And the Brooklyn Nets, guess what? They're going to be better next year. You know, the Philadelphia 76ers are probably going to be better next year.
But that's the reason to do it more than anything else, Josue. If you're looking at these guys and it's not working. Not that it's I can upgrade talent to a player like Beal. We're not even having Jeff believes, it's just he's a more talented player. If you can get him, get him.
If you could upgrade a new voice to these young guys, I think that's a strong part. It's a strong possibility. Celtics could do that.
They might.
But you know what? You don't need to.
Is option A. That's option A. Option B, if you can't do that, or Wick won't pay for the buyout for Brad Stevens, you got to look at option B. Because
I thought you had it the other way around. See, I thought you were saying give Tatum a new running mate over replacing Brad Stevens.
If it's Bradley Beal, I'm in.
If it's Bradley Beal, right? Oh, if it's Bradley Beal, right?
I'm not giving Jaylen. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if I can get Beal, that might be option A for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
That might be
But don't trade Jaylen just to trade him. I got you.
No, hell no. Hell no.
No one's going to do that.
Again, I really think Jaylen has gotten so much better. You got to remember, guys, I saw him in AAU. I saw him at Cal. He sucked at Cal. Now, he has made such strides in the last year, to be honest, in what he can do on the half court and his decision-making. In the last 2 years in his perimeter shot. That still doesn't mean I want him shooting a ton of threes. I still think his strength is going to the basket.
You had an early season mea culpa on Brown when you opened up your preseason chit chat around the Celtics was Brown's never going to be a number 2 guy. He's more of a 3 or 4 option. Then he comes out and he shoots 85% from everywhere. And it was like, all right, maybe he is. But again, if he's a 2 and wants to be a 1 and he's going to be, and he and Tatum can't figure it out together, I don't know. Sherrod?
See, I'm not sure I'm not sure that's the issue. I mean, the fact is we're not talking about, 2 guys who are so diametrically different that they're fighting to be the alpha. I don't think that's happening. And that's why the more I look at this team and their struggles, it's hard to look past the Brad factor. It's hard to look past him not figuring out
the Kemba factor?
Right. Well, the Kemba factor, certainly. But here's the thing. We've seen these guys figure out how to be impactful players as a unit when they've been missing key guys or when guys haven't been less at full strength. We saw that with Kyrie Irving. We saw that with Gordon Hayward. And Kemba is in that same kind of lane of engagement. But Brad hasn't figured out how to get the most out of this team.
How's this? No leadership. And no leadership really from your coach. No toughness. No guy who's going to go in there and MF them. And I think this team needs some of that.
We've talked about that, and that's real. I mean, and when we had Kendrick Perkins on,
you guys
on the locker room, that was kind of where he was kind of going down that route a little bit.
Yeah,
basically,
I was shoving him.
They need one of they need.
But no, it's true. Almost every answer Perk gave was like, so why do we think this is happening? He's like, that's on the coach. That's on the coach. That's on the coach.
And the staff. And the staff.
Right.
Right.
But it
And
kept
staff.
coming back to
But
that.
not
He's like,
staff.
he's got to hold, like, sure, Marcus fucks up, but he's got to hold him accountable. Sure, this happens, but Brad's got to tell him not to do that. And yeah, they're doing all of this, but that's on Brad. Like, he came back to it a ton.
And that's
so,
where I think the fix
yeah.
the fix can be it. Maybe the fix isn't Brad. Maybe the fix isn't Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I think where you can improve this roster is on the back end, bringing in some veteran guys, some leaders, some proven players in this league that don't necessarily have to cost a lot of money, but that the players respect, the young guys respect. They might not be ready to lead by example because they are pretty young, and I think a lot of people forget that. You know, they've been in the league for a few years, and they're obviously all-star level players, but that doesn't mean that they're ready to lead a team. And sometimes you need a veteran like an Al Horford. I'm not saying bring Al Horford back. Exactly,
Tucker.
a PJ Tucker guy. I mean, I'm just like a guy that doesn't cost much. JJ Redick type of level of money that, you know, can still help you, can still be a voice in the locker room, and can still contribute on the court, and that the players can sort of look to. And I think Brad's looking for players to do that too. Brad's not looking to be the center of attention on the team. He wants the players to figure it out oftentimes on their own. And I also think that's where the staff comes in too. You brought in a guy like Evan Turner, I think, to try to connect to the players on some level. And maybe you need to bring in other former NBA players that are kind of looking to get into the league on the coaching side.
You need a badass
those are the
on your
ways you
bench.
can improve.
You
Exactly.
need a badass on your bench.
I'm saying PJ Tucker. Like
PJ Tucker, Kendrick Perkins, Leon Poe. You need a guy who cut his teeth as a tough, gritty guy in the league. Because those are the guys that become the examples that will help a Grant Williams, who is he is who he is, but you like him to be a little bit grittier, a little bit more grimier. You need someone like that. If you can't get an actual player, get a damn assistant coach who played the game, who played like that. Because that is something that you need. That's something that
Jerome
is
Allen is not that. Right, Jerome Allen is not that. Larinaga,
good guy,
is not that.
Well, we talked about bringing KG in and just let him yell at them for a little while and see.
I'm good with that.
Do the Bull Durham thing. Their kids scare them, you know, like just freaking go in there and just lose your freaking mind on them. You know. By the way, the loser of the lottery. The loser of the play-in games enters the lottery. So to go back to
I knew it.
That's what I thought. So because that's why I was initially for it. 1, excitement factor. 2, let's see if you've got any balls. 3, if you lose, what's the worst that happens? You enter the lottery. That's not terrible. Roll the dice on that. So
the lottery is, you know, a basically non-zero chance at winning the lottery. So
Take it.
I mean, I wouldn't get my hopes
this year.
up
Honestly, the difference between pick 6 and pick 20. You can
none. There's none.
Really?
It's a crap. It's a crap shoot. Every
top 5.
Really, top 4 one down.
Good. That's why you win the lottery.
John's like, wait, what? That's true?
Then win it.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, they're not going to.
I appreciate all of you guys. Everybody in the chat crushing me. I appreciate that.
Oh, you love that though.
Are they?
Brown.
He's here.
I'm saying to trade Jaylen Brown if you can get a guy named Bradley Beal, who by the last time I checked is pretty effing good. All right. But I also think, yes, you want to fire Brad Stevens? I kind of am at the point where I'm almost there.
Yeah.
All right. This thing shakes out, but I'm damn.
I think that's where I'm at.
Well, the chat supports fire Brad. They don't support trade Jaylen, and they are used to Bobby saying really nice things. And then you come in here, Jeff, and you start saying really mean things about the Celtics. And I think
I'm an asshole.
Should add the trigger warning for everybody.
You're a bully right
an
now.
asshole. I've heard it all before. I'm an asshole. I'll be okay tomorrow. I'll wake up and I don't need a box of Kleenex next to me.
And we'll bring you on again, and we want you to be the same asshole next time too. Especially if they deserve it. What's the point of saying nice things? Why? What?
They don't deserve that.
Why sugarcoat it?
And
That's
again,
what we're here for.
I love
this stretch.
Just ask Marcus.
I'm the president of the Jason Tatum fan club. Man, he should have played tonight. You got 12 games left or whatever it is. You got to get your ass out there and play tonight.
But if you were ever going to take a game off down the stretch, this was the one. They whether he played or not, they should have won this game.
Agreed. You're right.
That's true.
And that's why I can't be mad about JT for not playing this game because they should have won this whip without him.
Why
Right.
don't you pick
And
a
he needs a
game where
break.
Kemba is going to play, so you always have two of those three?
That's a great
the
idea.
only thing I would have said.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Well,
you
we
let
You can
still
Jaylen
space
on
those
an
two out.
island
That
for
would make
tonight.
sense.
Yeah.
So,
All
anyway.
right,
And again,
so,
it's to me, it's the continuity of getting these guys to all play together. We rarely have seen it this year, and you're running out of games before the playoffs or the play-in, whichever one it ends up being. And like you said, Jeff, I mean, these are the games where you got to start to create good habits. And right now, I don't see a single damn one.
yeah. Rewind it to my tank take from a couple of weeks ago or whenever that was. I want that one back. Just get it over with. Get out of here. Anyway, Jeff, thank you
All
for
right.
joining us.
Later,
Please
boys.
please
Thanks
come
for
back
having
again.
me. I appreciate it. I'll probably see you again soon because if they keep sucking, I'll be back.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You might be an asshole, but you're our asshole, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Appreciate
Much
you, Jeff.
appreciated.
Well said,
Jeff.
Jimmy.
Later.
Oh, Jimmy.
So
He's
good,
our
Jimmy,
asshole.
no, good stuff. Good to have Jeff on there.
Great stuff.
We
I'm
did
glad we got him
an
on.
asshole.
We were talking about bringing him on just to talk about the Jaylen thing, thinking this is going to be boring. The Celtics will win this game. And there won't be a ton to talk about because it's freaking OKC and like whatever. It's just a throwaway game. So let's have some other conversations about other things. And he kind of threw that Jaylen Brown thing out again. Figured it'd be interesting. And then this freaking happened, and here we go. So
the 2021 Celtics never, they're gonna surprise you no matter what, one way or another.
it's just
I just wish the record doesn't bother me as much as the lack of compete. The lack of, I mean, the guys that aren't very good, I don't care that you're not very good. That has nothing to do with you playing hard. That has nothing. You know what? I watched the Knicks Suns game the other night, and I
did
paid
too.
really
Great
close
game.
attention to the Knicks and what they were doing defensively. Every single guy that stepped on the floor was flying his ass all over the court. When teams put them in rotation, guys were flying. When teams were trying to run their stuff, guys were closing out under control. They were doing all the things that I remember seeing a certain team in New England do last year and the year before. Where did we go wrong? Where did we lose our way? Where did we go astray?
And that team made Phoenix, they had to fight for that, like they had to finally, there's a reason why they were on that long winning streak that just got snapped. And listen, that's a team with that kind of heart that can really get far because of that and string together wins like that. But
I want this team to start fighting.
I'm not quite sure, Sherrod. I'm not quite sure because
I want them to fight to win. Not physically fighting, but just fight to win.
This wasn't the team we saw during the 6-game winning streak, though. So to answer your question, I'm not quite sure what happened,
but
outside of not having a few guys in some games. But then 2 days ago, they were damn near healthy outside of Robert Williams.
Here's, I think, where people have the wrong, like, this is where the mentality of your average Celtics fan, I think, is flawed. Like, you see them do something like the 6-game win streak or play well on a night and win the game, the Portland game, the Denver game, whatever, Phoenix, and think couldn't make it, couldn't get there. I think he's just pressing. He's nicking it right now.
His takes were too hot tonight. He burned the right.
Scorching takes. Are you back? Can you do this?
Damn it. Yo, I was on a roll, guys. It's been like 3 shows in a row. I wasn't going to say nothing. I wasn't going to say nothing. But...
Jinx it. It's like Joe Sway's Wi-Fi is like the how many days without a tornado sort of thing in one of those shitty Midwestern towns. He went 2 days without Wi-Fi issues. I think he's frozen right now. That's not real. He's frozen. Oh, we froze.
He was.
No, I'm here. Go ahead.
Buffering. That's your nickname, Buffer. The family had a lot of buffers. So again, all of these things, everyone's like, oh, look, this is who they can be. Wrong. They're the other thing. They're the thing you're seeing most of the time. They're closer to this and closer to what we've seen over the last couple of games. Last game was even more disappointing. I mean, everyone else shit on this one. Absolutely inexcusable loss. I still think that this 2-game stretch is the worst of the season by far. The
worst 2-game stretch, I'll buy that.
Fully loaded Charlotte team, and then this crap team that's losing by 30 points a night, with a bunch of 20-year-olds. Forget it. This is who you are. You're not the other thing. You're much closer to this because it's just loser ball at this point. It's no effort. It's I mean, just being out. The last 2 nights they were just flat out competed. It wasn't even close. 2 teams that wanted it more and took it from him. Embarrassing losses. That's who you are. This is the Boston Celtics.
Yeah,
This is your
that's who
Boston
you are.
Celtics.
You're that team. You're, like I said, you're the team. You're the slump buster. You're the team that everyone's like, you know what, guys? Let's get back on track. This is supposed to be a good team, but we know we can take them. And we know we can, get a little confidence boost going in. And, all we have to do is outplay them because teams have been doing it all year. Just outwork them, and they'll lay down their sword. And that's what they do. If this team's not fully stocked with everybody playing, then you get performances like this. It's a combination of lack of fight, lack of compete, like Sherrod says, and lack of talent. I mean, it takes talent to hit shots and hit threes, and they just couldn't hit. They couldn't hit a shot tonight. I mean, we say it's a make-miss league all the time. I mean, they barely shot 20% from three tonight. That's really the difference in this game.
Yeah, but I think the biggest problem. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. You got it, just way. Your Wi-Fi might go out before you finish. So go.
No, I was gonna say real quick.
Cherish these moments of clean Wi-Fi.
I think what was driving me crazy was not just the Brad Stevens rotations, but it was like once he finally found that combination, it was like, oh wait, now you have to finish the game with these guys because it just seemed like no one was on the same page outside of Smart, Pritchard. I mean, who am I missing? That's it, right? I just think outside of those guys, you didn't know what you were going to get. Guys coming in and out. And that includes Romeo Langford. I was really surprised. I just felt like Romeo Langford was just somewhere else. He played over 20 minutes in this one.
He had moments, but he also had those. I know you mentioned he looked
you mean like the wide open three in from the corner?
Oh, man, that one, the bounce pass down low, that wasn't a bad pass. He just wasn't there. Like, his hands aren't there. It's like he's a step behind or on defense. Again, like I said earlier, Marcus Smart literally has to tell him where he's supposed to be. Like, I don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
And he rolled out a new defense? Did he roll out a new system before this game? I don't
know if you guys saw, but I muted the word Celtics on my Twitter, so nobody can hurt me tonight. I won't see any Celtics news for the next 24 hours.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that.
It's my safe space for the next 24 hours. Nobody who tweets me with the word Celtics, I won't see it for the next 24 hours. I'll sleep well tonight.
I do it for like entertainment spoilers. Like if I don't want to, if I'm behind on a series and everybody's tweeting about it or a movie, I'll do that. I'll block it all out. I'm a couple episodes behind on the winter, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't want people blowing that up for me. I got to.
People will do that. They'll do it when the new episode's going live. It's like, hey,
Avengers Endgame. It took me a week to watch it, and I was like, everyone shut up.
See, for me, that's for sports and award shows alone. Like that's it. Like you want to tweet out live, okay, that's fine. But come on, people trying to watch the show. On demand's been around for a long time.
It's tough for the people out west. They're 3 hours. Everything happens, and they're just like shit.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad. They're out west. I mean, I'd rather be out west than here half the time, but they are late on everything.
All right. So again, as we promised to people, we're going to do our little vent session here. So opening up the room here, we're going to open it up shortly. Ahmed, go ahead, fire it up, and we'll put the link in the chat. We'll go over and chat with you guys for a few minutes, or as long as you guys want to rail on here.
Shout out to Ahmed for his funny comments on the thread. He of course he goes, how about Marcus Smart take another three? I kid you not. 10 seconds later, he takes one. He finally made it.
Yeah.
The 1-3 he made.
1 for 10.
1 for 10.
Well, so there's a few leftovers. Everything tonight was global. We didn't get in on any individual people. And again, it's worth mentioning. Sure, Jaylen half this show was about Jeff's take on Jaylen in the offseason. Again, we could debate that forever, whether a move for Beal or something like that is good. And I really don't know, because I don't think it's a slam dunk. But
there's no such thing as a slam dunk.
There's no slam dunk here. You're moving, and again, it's not a move for the sake of moving, but almost anything you do, you're getting
kind of feels like it is, though.
You're getting equal value in return, so you're just hoping that those pieces mesh better. Usually you do that with disgruntled stars. You don't do that with a guy you like. It's like, I don't like John Wall, you don't like Westbrook. Let's swap these guys and see if they change of scenery helps, because we both hate them. Those trades make sense. Star for star trades never happen. It just does. Especially a star that you like they love Jaylen.
Or especially two stars that are still ascending.
I can't see it. I don't see how you do it. I think the only way you make a move is if you're going backwards, not in a way to go forward. If you ever got to the point and say, I'm going to sell it for pieces and start a process or start to rebuild, which I just don't think you do. Because what are you hoping? You draft a Jaylen Brown type guy and you develop him in 2 or 3 years? It makes no sense. I don't see any world.
You already have him, right?
You already have him, and he's 23. Like, what are you looking for? Another young star who will be that good by the time they're 20? It's impossible. So, like, I don't see,
John. Like,
I don't see how they get better there.
If you're Danny, you struck gold back-to-back drafts. Like, you can't just close up shop now. That's why I just think if it comes down to it, if it boils down to it, I see Brad out of here before one of those guys leaves.
That's the only thing, because the reality is the roster is largely going to be like this, or as Jimmy said with the tax tryout, anybody who plays their way in and you think is going to be a part of it. Like, if this is what you see out of Evan Fournier, you're not giving him $20 million in the offseason. You know, I don't know if Rob is going to be hurt every 10 seconds. You're not extending him, you know, so you don't know. You may think it may be this roster and less, but getting rid of Brown or Tatum is asinine. It's literally the only thing you have.
I think the one thing
are not going to do that. You're not going to do that because. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Real quick, I was just going to say.
I thought Sherrod was messing with you for a second.
I did too. I was like, all right.
You are not going to do that, Jimmy Toscano.
I think ideally you'd like them to maybe play different styles of games or be further away position wise. Like if you had a point guard and a power forward or something, like, you know, you want your superstar players to really be complementary of each other. And sometimes I think that's the issue, and we talk about all the time, is that these guys aren't very complementary sometimes. Like it's one player out there sometimes. It's like, here comes Jason Tatum and now here comes Jaylen Brown. When they're not moving the ball around like they used to in previous seasons, it doesn't feel like they're able to, you know, maximize each other's, you know, potential out there at the same time.
I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about them needing somebody on that bench who's just an ass kicker, someone who's a legitimate tough guy. Because here's the thing, to John's point, this roster is probably not going to be significantly ratified or modified, I should say, next year because of where they are in terms of the tax, unless they do something really blockbuster like move Tatum or move Brown, which I don't think they'll do. So if you can't upgrade – so where's the one area where you can add some toughness to the mix that won't devastate your cap? It's that bench. They have a lot of good guys and folks involved on the basketball side who are good teachers, but you kind of need someone who's got a little bit of thug in them. You kind of need someone who's got a little bit of a grit and grind about them, someone who can actually look at Grant Williams and say, you're playing soft, and I know what soft looks like because I played X number of years in the league, and what you're doing, it's soft. We need to change that. They don't have anyone who can roll up on guys like that and say that, and it'd be taken credible. And they need that. Right. Think about when you had, you know, you and some of the previous teams, you had players who could do that. You had a James Posey, when you had a Tony Allen, you had, you know, even Eddie House would get in your grill piece if you didn't come correct. They don't have guys with that DNA. Swagger. If you can't get players like that, get people on your staff.
So again, I know you said that, but like, and I don't disagree at all, Sherrod. I want to see that, but you know, they had, you know, a roster that had, you know, Smart on it, and you had Morris on it, and whatever.
And they were great.
Yeah, but it didn't go well that year. And then you had, and then you have Smart. You have Smart now, and you have Tristan, who's, you know, a bit of a dog and a guy who's supposed to kind of bring energy and fire things up.
He was supposed to be, John.
Supposed to be.
Look at Sherrod.
I just noticed how far back
Sherrod, I'm asking you this.
Oh, sorry, I was shrinking there for a minute.
Tristan's got his own issues.
Is he a nice guy, or is he a soft guy, or is he more of a, in terms of the way he plays, more of a grit guy?
Nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
Occasionally slip into the gritty mode. Occasionally.
Right. Exactly. When he's in a bad mood or he's really into the game that night.
I love when guys are in a bad mood, because typically guys play better when they're in a bad mood.
Well, that's what I mean. But if he's not in a bad mood or not out there to have something to prove, or someone didn't step on his foot the way that really pissed him off.
I keep thinking back to that one thing Doc Rivers used to talk about all the time is, I need instigators. That wasn't people who started trouble. That was guys who finished the trouble that was already started. They don't have anyone on the bench like that. They don't have anyone really among the roster. Well, Marcus Smart falls in that category.
But it's so funny because you had like, the other guy, Kyrie and Marcus made Jaylen and Jason sad. So they left. And then we had to get nicer guys in here, and now the nice guys aren't working because these guys are now they're bummed out and they're sulky and they don't want to play. So now we need tough guys to kick them in the ass again. Like
they don't like the criticism. That's what it is.
But do you think Jason Tatum wants a guy in his freaking face? Like, honestly, do you think that Jaylen Brown wants a guy
so concerned about what he wants. I'm more concerned about what he needs.
He might need it.
Yeah. Need someone in his ear.
I'm just imagining if Marcus Morris was on this team right now, what would he say? How would he describe this team?
Soft.
He would definitely push Jaylen Brown again during a timeout.
Yeah.
TP in a monsoon.
But Jaylen doesn't like that. Like that does not they don't respond to that. That's the thing. They don't respond to it. I think you need a strong I don't think you need one of those guys. I think you need I hate to say it.
What do you think, John? You think they're gonna look at each other and be like, this guy's a dick? I don't like
the coach. You need a coach with a strong voice that they will listen to. I don't need a guy to flip chairs and throw shit. Yeah, you need to be afraid that they might from time to time, but you might need a player coach. You might need that guy,
So who you got? Because that's the biggest reason why. That's the biggest reason why all the anti-Brad Stevens people out there, they don't have a whole lot to say.
Like you said, look,
after get rid of Brad, they don't have much to say after that.
I've said this before.
Anybody, just get him out of here.
If things are gotten to the point where you fire your coach, you're not concerned about the replacement. You just know that this doesn't work. If your marriage is so bad that you need a divorce, you're not worried about your next wife. Okay, you're just at this point saying this is untenable. Well, if you realize it's untenable, you're not worried that the next thing, whether the next is going to work. It's always a leap of faith. Even if you have a guy you think is perfect, it's a leap of faith. You don't know how it's going to work.
But John, you don't think Danny Ainge has at least a couple of names in mind? He has to. Danny Ainge had Brad Stevens in mind 2 or 3 years before Doc Rivers said, or before he realized, we're doing a rebuild. Oh shoot! All right,
it's possible. Let's continue this over on locker room. Sherrod and I are going to head. Jimmy, Josue, you guys want to hang on this for a few more minutes?
Yeah, we'll close it down.
I will text me when you're done. I'll close the room down. All right, guys. All right. I'll be on it with you guys, but you guys can hang here. Sherrod and I are heading over. I'm in the room right now, so I'm going to.
Damn. Okay.
I'm in there now. I'm going to request to speak, and I'm going to jump in. Sherrod, head out. These guys will carry us home. These guys will carry us.
I'll see y'all on OT.
Yeah, we'll see everybody on OT.
Wait,
I'm heading over now.
Tell you when we're going to end the show?
Text me when you want to wrap up the show, and I'll shut it down for you guys.
Oh,
because you don't have the controls.
What if I lose Josue in the middle of the show?
It's Jimmy Toscano show.
I've done it a ton. You stare at the camera and you give your Jimmiest of Jimmy takes. Okay.
Yo, Jimmy is hoping that happens.
You just Jimmy it up, and then when you panic, you text me and you go Hal, and I'll come in.
It's like the kid at the supermarket counter waiting for his mom. His mom went back to get something, and he's staring at the cashier.
It's getting closer and closer.
Yeah. So room's filling up already. We got a bunch of people in there. I'm heading over. Guys, hang out for a bit, and then come over and join us. So anybody here, Android, there's some people who use it. It's a beta situation right now. You can give it a try. Anyone else, iOS, download it. Come join us. We're gonna vent for a little bit. All right.
Chia. What's up, Jim? What's going on,
man?
You good? You done with this team yet, or what?
Can you hear me, dude?
Yeah, you're good.
I think I lost one head. I'm deaf in one headphone right now. I think my battery's running low, so I'm on borrowed time.
Is that happens? One will clock out before the other one.
Yeah, I don't know why, but one's a little weaker than the other. I don't know, man. They're both equally charged, but for some reason, maybe it's a microphone thing. One dies shortly before the other one.
I bet you use the good folks at Apple. That's their way of giving you a hint. Like, you don't have much time left. This thing's about to die out.
Yeah, I was like, I like the AirPods, but to be honest, they die too. If you're using it to talk, they die way too quickly. Like,
oh, really?
They were fully charged when the show started, and now they're like dead.
Dude, I was minutes away from getting one, literally like a couple of weeks ago, and I went to the store in Copley, and the woman, there's literally like they talk to you outside, and you like schedule an appointment. And she was like, "Oh yeah, we'll let you in like 45 minutes." I was just like, "Forget it." I just like left. And to this day, I don't have AirPods.
Lost a customer.
Like,
sorry, Apple.
Yeah. There's
lost
really
a
like
customer.
2 people in the big ass store, and it's just a new setup now with COVID and everything. So I was like,
Yeah,
I'll probably
I don't think that
order at some point.
company's going to survive much longer with a service like that. So,
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's just shoddy headphones. Get it together, Apple.
what else we got going on, man?
Nothing much, man. I gotta tell you, even though the comeback was pissing me off, I was like, watch them pull it off, and they didn't. And a couple of days ago, like these 2 losses, I don't know, man. I'm really starting to buy a little bit of that get rid of Brad stock a little bit.
I'm not there yet, and like I think we're over.
I mean, I don't mean
think we're.
tomorrow, obviously, but off
No,
season.
I know.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I got you.
yeah. It's the end of off-season type situation, but like
Right.
John's talking about how he doesn't need the coach to throw chairs, and I don't either, and he doesn't. I almost feel like people are putting too much stock in the coach's ability to motivate players. I think that players should be able to motivate themselves and each other before the coach can. It's obviously anyone who's had like a great coach in life, they mean a ton to you and you'll never forget them and all that stuff. But when you get to the professional levels, I think that might change a little bit. Like
Yeah, of
I don't.
course.
You think you looked at him as like a mentor, like you do when you're a kid or when you're growing up and you're playing in like AAU and high school and college. I think like once you get to the pros, like you need a smart coach. You need a coach who's going to put you in a position to succeed on the court or on the field, whatever sport it is. And it's somebody that yes, you want to believe in him and you want to have his back and you want him to have your back out there. And I don't know if it's at the point where they don't trust Brad or they've tuned Brad out. But at the same time, I put it on the players that like when it comes to like not fighting or not competing, I don't necessarily put that on Brad. I put that on the players a lot. Like you're a professional now, you have to make sure that you are fired up for these games and you have to fire up your teammates and you have to get yourself going. Like there's a million reasons why you should be. And it shouldn't be that, oh, like my coach doesn't get me fired up enough like before the game or during the game. Like and at the same time Brad should be able to, turn it up a notch too. And I do think that he's had some questionable decision making this season for sure. I mean, to say the least, if you want to talk about starting rotations or, not adjusting enough during games or
Right.
questionable substitutions at certain points, like you can certainly do that, but that shouldn't take a player's like mentality. That shouldn't change a player's mentality to like be a killer
Right.
out there.
Like no one should be checking out. Right.
Exactly. No
I
one should
felt
be
like people are
out.
checking out. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that. Like, I don't think it's Brad's responsibility to give these guys heart. But I just think in the NBA, again, like you said, right, when people get a lot of that has to do with money. Let's face it. When these guys get paid, they're millionaires. They're a year or two removed from their rookie season, and they're whether they want to call it coasting or not, I think there's stretches where guys can take nights off or at least take a few plays off or just say, you know what, I'm going through the motions tonight. And I think when that happens, someone like Brad Stevens, it's tough for him to be in that spot because I think it's tough for him to sort of get guys out of that funk. And
Right.
throughout the course of the regular season, a long season, especially with COVID, the virus going on and everything, obviously this team has been faced with a lot of hurdles. But I just think if you look at most NBA teams, like the signs of a team that's checked out on a coach, like a lot of them are there with the Celtics team.
I
And
know.
a couple of months ago, that was the first time it crossed my mind where, Gary said it, or a couple of weeks after that, we were talking about it. But I just looked at it as temporary. We're 10 games, 10 less than 10 games left of the season. And here we are again. Yeah, the 6-game winning streak wasn't too long ago, but I can't help but think like the Celtics have fallen into that space where the team's completely checked out. Can they turn it around? Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's
I don't even know.
possible. But what does that mean, though? Right? What does turn around mean? If they win out, does that mean they're going to go far in the playoff? If they win out and they're bounced out of the second round, if that's a successful season, no. Is the team going to be happy with Brad or think that I just think it's a matter of the signs are there now. And if we don't see that quick turn that we've been alluding to for the last 2 or 3 weeks, when is it ever going to happen this year? And if it doesn't at all, the same team, same coach, what makes people think that they're just going to wake up during the offseason? The NBA doesn't work like that. NBA teams don't work like that. There has to be a drastic change after that, And that could be the path that we're on right now. Starting with this loss, this is a significant loss, worst loss of the season, for sure. I mean it this time. Hopefully, it's the last time I say it. Hopefully, this is the last time I say this one.
I know. There's a couple of other tough matchups coming up that we might be saying it for, but this is definitely up there. I do think a lot of it had to do with just awful, horrific shooting, but it should never even got to that point. But to everyone's point saying, okay, well, like your question, oh, if you get rid of Brad, well, who are you going to get? Who are you going to get to coach your team? Well, you can say the same thing of like, well, if you're going to trade Jaylen, you
Yeah.
can't just trade Jaylen. You have to make sure you get somebody of, significant value, or whoever the player is, Tatum, Rob, whoever, Smart. Or you do the other thing where you say, okay, we still think we can win with this core group if they are healthy. I know it's a big if this year, but if they can stay healthy, we think we need to add pieces around them to maybe motivate them a little bit, to maybe add, to complement their style of play a little bit, so the people coming off the bench are not just guys who like improve the team from an emotional standpoint, but do actually put them in positions to succeed, and they are making them the focal point off the offense. But they're complementary players, but they're
Right.
also veteran leaders. There's no veteran leaders left on this team. I mean, you can talk about Tristan Thompson. Absolutely, he's one, but I'm not sure if that's enough. Clearly, it doesn't seem to be. I don't know if he's that guy. I really don't. So, I think there's got to be other veterans available at a low cost because they don't have a lot of money to work with, right? They've got to find a way to be able to get these guys in there who want to play. That's the other key. These veterans have to want to play with these young guys, Tatum and Brown, and for whatever reason, over the years, the veterans haven't stuck around. I don't know if that's more so to do with, the people around them or them themselves wanting to just play on other teams, but you got to find a couple of steady veterans who can instill that confidence, that emotion, that swagger, right? That toughness that everyone's talking about. You have to put those around those guys. Don't make Brad Stevens be the guy that has to do that. Let Brad Stevens be the X's and O's guy and the guy that can put you in a position on the court to do your thing. But you can't expect him because he's not. It's pretty clear at this point that that's just not who Brad Stevens is, right? For better or for worse, he's not the motivational type coach who's going to fire up the guys. At least we don't see that on the court. I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but it doesn't appear that he's that type of coach. And
Right.
it's gotten him this far, so whatever he's doing must be working for him. But now you need other either players or assistant coaches, staff, to step into those other roles and say, okay, Brad, we know can take care of this aspect of it, but now this is my job. This is my role. I'm going to come in and provide the fire, provide the spark, provide the tenacity or the toughness, and give this team some emotion. Make them a team that the opponent doesn't want to play, because I don't see that right now. I can't imagine there's one team in the NBA who's like, oh shit, we got the Celtics coming up.
I
Oh,
know.
it's going to be a
No
dogfight.
one's afraid of that shit, right?
No. And it didn't feel that wasn't what anyone was saying to start the season. Everyone was thinking, oh, this is going to be a top team in the East. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Everybody watched the bubble. Everyone watched the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Right.
Yep.
But they haven't instilled fear at all whatsoever throughout the course of the regular season. And now everyone's, man, if I'm in the league, I'm like, man, that all-star duo, bring it. I can't wait to take it to them because everyone can beat those guys. They just lost to a team that lost 14 in a row. Man, that's starting to sink in now. It's really starting to sink in. That locker room's going to be crazy today.
It is. I just, so if you guys haven't downloaded it, I know we've said it a million times, give it a download. If you have the Android, there is a beta version out there.
Get that beta.
Which is a good thing. I mean, you might be buggy, but that tells me that, that
app is... heroes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you don't want to see us anyways, but I'll tell you what, I think we, we had Perk last week. We might see him again, so you definitely want to try to get that app downloaded before that happens, because we had a what 2+ hour
we had
locker
Perk,
room chat with Perk
cackling. He was dying laughing.
Past it sounds like the audio.
I think we just hit 2 a.m. when we finally wrapped things up.
Dude, and he kept wanting to go. We gave him so many outs to leave. He's like, I'm good. I'm kicking my feet up. I got a Snickers and a Dr. Pepper, and I'm just chilling. So, and I tell you, it's like
when you get
Perk
the
after
Reese's
dark,
Pieces,
too.
man, you could really hear him chewing them things.
It's Perk actually. It's almost like you actually get like the locker room version of Perk. Like this is probably what Perk was like a little bit in the locker room, kicking it, and he was telling stories and all that cool stuff. So it was definitely good to have him, and hopefully we can get him back, and we actually will get some other guests too. So
definitely, man, just to
definitely want to join that. I texted John and said, come back and close this thing out. So I don't know if we have to leave for him to do that, or do we stay on for him to do that?
I think we're good. I think he just said we can just wrap it up. I think he's gonna just do it from his end.
Wrap it, Jimmy. Okay. Yeah, that's it. I guess we'll wrap it. So we'll see you guys. When's the next game? Tomorrow?
Yeah, man, back to back. No excuses
That's
this
the
time.
other thing. The Thunder were on the second night of a back-to-back, and they did this to you. Can
Yeah,
you
they did.
believe that? So I don't want any excuses for the Celtics on the second nights of back-to-backs anymore. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that excuse anymore that, oh, it's the second night of a back-to-back, because the Thunder just did that to you on a second night of a back-to-back.
Well, at least this time, on the other end, Tatum, maybe a little Kemba, that should help. No,
That should
we'll
help.
see.
It should. It's a big should, but it should. All right, we're out of here. We'll see everybody tomorrow.